Hello and welcome to the first installment of the hopefully ongoing series, Maddock Movie Reviews. This is where I talk about movies on occasion. Today I'd like to discuss Cruella. Now, this is a movie that I had zero interest in seeing and actually only went because I wanted to go to the theaters, which I have not been to in a year and a half. My last excursion to the theaters was to see The Rise of Skywalker, so my most recent memories of the theaters haven't been great, but generally I like them, so I wanted to go back just for the fun of it, and I went to an AMC theater, which was dead before the pandemic, and it was just a surreal experience. There were more staff than people. There was a homeless man behind the counter serving up booze and some subpar popcorn, which was interesting, really, but I digress. On to the actual movie. It was fine. I was expecting some hotter garbage compared to Disney's more recent live-action films. The main difference with this one is it isn't a remake of Disney's older movies. This is, I guess, a prequel to 101 Dalmatians, or at least I think it is. I haven't seen that movie in years. So the movie overall is fine. It's definitely very entertaining. The bulk of the movie takes place in London during the 70s, and one of my favorite things about the movie is how well it nails down that aesthetic fittingly, with the movie having sort of a fashion theming. The set design and the clothing design in the film was really excellent. It definitely sold that aesthetic. And the movie overall, I'd say, is just entertaining. These are some minor spoilers here, but not really. So Cruella, and just a fun fact about her name before was Estella, but she wanted to be edgy like that, so she went for cruel, like as in mean, cruel Ella. But anyway, she worked for this woman named Mrs. Fashion, and she's living kind of a double life. She's working at the shop, and she wants to take her down because Mrs. Fashion, she stole her mother's necklace, and she doesn't quite know how this happens yet. But, so she starts her own fashion label and does these outrageous things across the town to get all the attention and become the new Mrs. Fashion. And some of the shenanigans pulled, I'd say, are super entertaining. Even if nonsensical, this was one of my gripes with the movie. Some of this stuff just made no sense. Like in one of the scenes, they were breaking into some house. I already forgot why, but I do remember why. They were stealing Mrs. Fashion's necklace, which was Cruella's mom's necklace, and they use rats to scare her and distract her and steal her necklace. But the thing about this plan is the rats were not initially part of it. They had no plan going into this. It just happened to work out. And that's one of the more minor nonsense moments. Later in the movie, there's a big event going on at Mrs. Fashion's warehouse, and Cruella distracts them by having a dress covered in moth larvae, which all hatch in this vault. When they open the vault, all the moths come out, causing them to leave Miss Fashion's warehouse, and then they go out into London Square, where they see that Cruella somehow started a giant concert at like the stage that she put up somehow, and she hired all these dancers somehow. I have no idea how she afforded it. It's like there's all this flashy stuff going on, but when you think for 2 seconds about it, it's like that just makes no sense. She doesn't have money because she was just a thief living on the streets, or not in the streets, but whatever. It just doesn't make sense. And Another one of my smaller but still gripes with the movie is that there's only 2 pieces, maybe like 1.5 pieces of original music in the score. I was really surprised because the composer was one of the first people credited in credits, despite not doing anything. Every piece of music in this film is licensed. Admittedly, it fits well with the time period and what's going on, but it became annoying that every single moment of this movie was some licensed song playing in the background. It was kind of distracting. But back to the positives. The movie had some great characters. Cruella kind of going crazy, hell-bent on getting her mother's necklace back, is entertaining to watch. Mrs. Fashion, I already forgot her real name, but she's an entertaining character, very cutthroat and kind of mean. I don't have any better adjectives, but there's also Cruella's sidekicks, which they were thieves on the streets. One of them's fat and dumb, one of them's tall and smart. I mean, they were entertaining. At least they helped Cruella pull all her hijinks, and he has this funny dog. I'm just rambling at this point. I feel like getting into spoilers now, so my spoiler-free review is that fine movie, sometimes nonsensical, but entertaining enough to be worthwhile. Okay, on to spoilers. So basically, the big twist of the movie is that Cruella is the daughter of Mrs. Fashion, who she had been, fighting against the entire movie. And admittedly, this was actually kind of a twist. The movie wasn't as predictable as I was predicting. So at the end, I'm already blanking on what happened. I think it was a party to celebrate the death of. I somehow already forgot this movie. She at a party in Mrs. Fashion's house, and Mrs. Fashion finds out that Cruella is her daughter, and she's like, wow, that's crazy. So she knocks her off a cliff, which is the same cliff she knocked her mother off in the beginning of the movie, which, side note, I have no idea why she did that. There was no explained reason as to why she murdered her mother, but I digress. So she knocks her off a cliff, and it's like, well, how did she survive this? She just got knocked off a cliff. Well, her dress is a parachute, yes, and the fat one of her friends somehow got a boat to the bottom, which she conveniently landed in, and this mansion is at the top of a cliff on all sides, so I don't understand how he got a boat down there. That made no sense. But after that, it's so everyone thinks Estella is dead because she put on the Estella makeup. But Cruella is alive because she faked her death. So they have a funeral for Estella, and because Cruella is Mrs. Fashion's daughter, she gets to take her mansion. Mrs. Fashion gets arrested, by the way, so she gets to take her big mansion. Except this makes no sense because Cruella is not a person. Cruella is Estella's alter ego. So how did this made-up character inherit her mansion? Like, she doesn't have a birth certificate or like any identifications or anything. She's literally a made-up person. Cruella does not exist. Estella is dead. Cruella is nobody. That was just a little plot hole there. Let's not forget fantastic performance by Emma Stone. I think she's a very good actress to look at on screen. Emma Stone was Cruella. Just want to put that in there before I forget. In conclusion, this is my crappy review rambling in a closet. I'd like to do more reviews in the future because I like talking about movies. I'll probably do better reviews on movies I'm more passionate about. But that was my review. In conclusion, I give this movie 7.5 pangolins. And it's entertaining, albeit a little nonsensical, and the aesthetics and just entertainment value, I think, make it worth a watch. So yeah, I don't know how to end this, so I'm just gonna stop recording.